So, my thoughts on tariffs on Mexico and Canada. So, I'll come out here and say right off the bat that I'm a free trade type of person. It has its positives and it has its negatives. The positives are the goods are cheaper and that benefits the American consumers. Downside of this, you can then outsource your labor to other countries that use slave labor, which takes away American jobs potentially that don't pay people slave labor wages. However, you're making that initial cost up front saying, like, okay, well, we'll create jobs in America because it makes sense. Some of this has worked to some extent in the Trump administration. Recently, Apple announced that they're going to make a $500 billion investment in America. That's a good thing. The downside of that, if you're actually going to go through with these policies of actually instigating tariffs against Mexico and Canada, these countries supply the United States with food and energy, which means if you want to have this be a long-standing economic policy, not to mention our auto parts, this is going to cost American jobs. This is going to cause food prices to go up for the American consumer. And also, inflation's already starting to tick back up. Tariffs are going to make this worse. So I just hope the tariffs right now are just a negotiating tool to get something from these governments, or whether that involves fentanyl coming across the southern border, which is killing Americans, by the way. Also, China's part of that, but we're going to put that aside. And it also causes open hostilities with governments that are friendly to the United States. We've always had a trade war going on with China. China is not an ally to the United States. Whenever we work together, it's just a convenience type of thing. But if this is a long game type of situation, Trump's popularity is not going to survive this. It's already starting to tick down slowly. They had the honeymoon phase with him initially coming in as president, and it was a welcome change as an American to see our president actually out in the public eye, and it looked like he was actually doing stuff. Versus the 4 years of the Biden administration, the dude was literally hiding in a basement somewhere. And what I think will actually gut Trump's popularity, I don't think it's going to be the tariffs, because I don't think this is a long game type of strategy. It's just leverage in a negotiation. I hope I'm right about that. The problem actually comes in for Trump if he actually allows Congress to gut popular programs like Medicaid, because that's a political third rail. And a lot of people who supported Trump are on Medicaid. The people who are the lowest income earners primarily supported Donald Trump. And they're going to get a little dose of what fiscal conservatism is. I'm not going to judge the budget before it comes out, because there's still wiggle room within that budget to actually no tax on tips, no tax on overtime, no tax on Social Security. He can still keep some of these promises because Congress has just asked for money, and how that's allocated needs to be signed off by the president and both houses of Congress. But if they go through with Medicaid cuts, that's where I see actual real mass protests of Donald Trump. Because people like their little goodies when it comes to healthcare. And then they're going to go into the private industry and find out how fucked up that is if you're someone who's on Medicaid. And I'm going to keep browbeating this. Personally, I think we should just have a public option that's just supplemental to private insurance, or covers people who just cannot afford health insurance. Trump's not going to do that. And even now we have Speaker Moses Mike Johnson. I call him Moses because that's who he thinks he is starting to say, hey, maybe we should just do a continuing resolution and not cut anything. That's chickening out, because he knows what will happen if he actually cuts things like Medicaid. And also, Elon is firing a bunch of people in our Social Security Administration. Maybe this is a good thing, maybe this is a bad thing. I'm not an expert in this department. A lot of people are on Social Security. And if their payments are delayed or don't go through correctly, how pissed off do you think they're going to get? So Trump trying to instigate a trade war, which is what he's doing right now, could backfire spectacularly. And if they pass this budget that actually has deep cuts in Medicaid, I believe that's when Trump's popularity will take a hit. But Trump wants to be popular, so I don't know how he's going to be able to come back to the American people and being like, hey, I got you no tax on tips, or whatever he's able to negotiate. But, oh, by the way, a lot of my voters who are on Medicaid, you don't have that anymore. I'm sorry. Sorry if your kid has cancer treatment medication you can't afford. Good luck in private insurance. Sorry if your grandma's in a nursing home and 40% of their funding comes from Medicaid. But hey, you're not getting taxed on your tips anymore. Again, I'm not going to prejudge a budget before it actually is released and actually is signed by the president, but that's where he's heading.